What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Close In podcast. I'm Chloe Clark, and today I'm here with Pierre Haessik, NBA photographer and social media manager. How are we doing today?
Doing great. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to talk and dive into your journey, especially because you do work with the NBA. It's going to be great to hear how you've been able to climb your way up to this pinnacle point of your career thus far. Start from the beginnings, as we all like to say. I know a big piece of information about you is you're from Paris. Were you a little Pierre walking around with the camera all the time around Paris, or how was that like?
I was born in like a small city. Back in the days, it wasn't like NBA on TV. It wasn't like all that. So growing up being like on video games pretty much. So knowing more about the NBA, dreaming about going to the US for the first time, going to see NBA games, going to see Kobe and all that. It was pretty much dreams and then video games because no NBA on TV or it's pretty much late, 3 a.m., 4 a.m. No way my mom would let me like watch NBA games at that time. Childhood was definitely fun. And yeah, here we are in LA.
So you talked about your interest in sports, but how were you drawn to the photography aspect of things?
At some point, we all doing like photos and videos with our phones pretty much. I think a camera is not that different. It's just a better quality for sure. You can do many things. It's a lot of things to learn for sure. But I think it's the same things as your phone pretty much. So I just picked up a camera like 2 years ago. So I just learned like on the go, like getting my camera, going on trips, traveling, going to my first games, getting photos for the clients I work with, and then yeah, here we are. But yeah, I started on my phone, to be honest. It's just like everyone else.
That's pretty organic though, so it's nice to hear that. But as far as, I feel like any photographer that has a niche, whether that be fashion photography, landscape, or food photography, like you at least have to have an interest and passion for whatever that topic is. And you touched upon how you do have that love of sports and for the game of basketball as well. I want to know, how did you really get into basketball? Because as you said, you are from Paris, and that is kind of a different perspective not being from the States. How are you drawn to the USA basketball and the NBA?
Yeah. I think there's a thing about watching the NBA late night. It was pretty different when I got here. It's like the games are like 3, 4 p.m. It's like the middle of the day. It's I'm not gonna complain about it because it's crazy finishing your day at like 7 a.m. in France watching the games. But that's how I got like really into it with video games. And of course, I got 3 older brothers that was just watching the games, talking about NBA, getting like Slam magazines, like all that.
So I want to know, when did you immigrate and come here to the United States?
I moved to the U.S. Actually, it was still COVID, but it was January 2022, so a year and a half ago.
What were those biggest motivations? Because immigration is not an easy thing. It's a big, big move. What made you want to be like, all right, I'm up and leaving. I'm coming to Los Angeles?
The mindset of like French people was not clicking too much with me. It was just like I was having a different life, to be honest. My friends were going to like 7 to 5 or 9 to 5 work, and then when they get out of work, pretty much my day was like starting pretty much. It was like I was going to bed at 7, 8 a.m. after my day. Yeah, it was motivation for me to get something else, to be honest. So I just booked a flight, and then I think it was just a decision like this. I would just book a flight, go to New York for 3 months, and then figure it out after that. And I think that was the right move.
So it sounds like it was pretty spontaneous. You're like, I'm just going to book a flight, go to New York. But I want to revert back to what you touched on before, where you said the French mindset wasn't clicking. Can you explain a little bit more about what you mean by that?
I think not a lot of people at 20, 21 have a company in France. Like, it's not something like not right in the system, but if I'm not in Paris, like 95, maybe 90% of the people just have regular jobs. Like me being with my friends and like telling them I have a company, I work for the NBA, and my dream is like go to the US, go to NBA games. It's like, what you talking
Unheard
about?
Of.
It's something like crazy. You're not gonna do that. So I think everybody around me like having like regular jobs it was like dragging me to that side when I wanted to go the other side. So, and I kind of knew it was my thing. So it was just, at some point it was just making a decision about it. So yeah, it's just the mindset.
And I think that's interesting that you say, because obviously I was born and raised here, and like you mentioned, a lot of the people that were my age, 21, even at 18, 19, 20, right, all throughout college, they have that entrepreneurial mindset out here, starting your own businesses, companies, whether that be small or big, and watching it grow. And so once you did come out here to LA, there's a bunch of content creators, entrepreneurs, right, young people like you and I that really just have that go-getter mindset and want to start things on their own. Did that ever weigh on you at all, especially coming from Paris where that's not common, and coming to LA where it's kind of a culture shift as far as how young people's mindsets are?
I'm still amazed by the ease that you guys have to just connect with other people. It's just something we don't have in France. Like, it would take months, years to connect with someone, and just here it's just like I'll go to games and meet like 3-4 people. I already have their Instagram, their number, and I just pretty much took the wave pretty much.
Culture shock might have been a challenge. Were there any other challenges that came with immigration?
It's hard. You get to know people, you get to understand them, how they reflect, how they think, all that. But I think after a year and a half, it's getting like more and more like interesting for me.
And now we all know, like you said, you're here working with the NBA, and I want to reflect back a bit in a segment I like to call Run It Back, basically looking how you have even gotten to this point working in the NBA and going into beforehand while you were with NBA Europe, right? So I'm going to pull up some photos, but before or as I do that, can you talk us through how you even started working with NBA Europe?
I basically had a page on Twitter. So it was a page I created in my bedroom pretty much. It was like a Twitter page, like a fan page. Back in the days, the page was called NBA France. So in my mind, I was just like, all right, the page doesn't exist any. Like I would create it and just make it official pretty much. I was in high school, first year of high school. So like I think it's when you have that in your mind, it's like the perfect picture. It's like I'm gonna create that account, and then the NBA gonna reach out to me, and then they're gonna say like, all right, you can work for us if you want to. You can like keep your page and all that stuff. But I was first year of high school, so after a year, the page went great. I think it was like 12,000 followers on Twitter, and we have like few players that just follow us, like Nico Batum, like some like big guys, and it was like first year of high school. Like it was like, wow, that's great. And then one night, I think it's the night where Braun is like eating the buzzer beater in Chicago, I think, on the baseline. So we put that video, and the video is going crazy, like crazy in France. Everyone is going like to retweet, like all that. And then the next morning, I wake up, and then I see the page is like suspended. So I'm like, ooh. Like, what's wrong? Happened? And then I get an email from Twitter. It's like, there's a problem with the identity. Like, basically, I was using NBA image when I was not allowed to. So now it's like I need to basically start from scratch again. And then at some point, I want to get back that account. So I'm starting to reach out to some people at the NBA office in London. I reach out to this guy named Tom, and it's like, I need to get that account back. I can change the name. That's not a problem. And then he said, no, you got to start again and all that. So I was like, all right, let me start again then. So I get a new account that I still have today that get me to NBA games, which is cool because the NBA social accounts were just launched like probably 3 weeks after the suspended mine. So we got NBA France, NBA Italy, NBA Germany, all that stuff. And then I get in contact with the guy that just runs NBA France. And then we talk on the phone for 2 hours. Probably a month after that, he tell me, like, I want to go on vacation. Like, you be open to just replace me for 2 weeks on NBA France? I was like, I mean, I'm ready for it. Like, I was ready for it before that. So, and then suddenly I'm going to the NBA headquarters in London. And then the next day I just started pretty much my shift with NBA France. So it's like going on, like, news pretty much, like, 6, 7 a.m. you got to tweet about like what happened the night before for French people. So I'm doing those games live on Twitter, and then still doing my account on the side. And then now it's been like 6, 7 years working with them on social media. Did a lot of things: NBA Finals, NBA All-Star Game, NBA Paris game. Did everything on social media.
We're gonna get into all those games that you were able to cover. But that's crazy how pretty much like all the dots connected, and it all started with you even just trying to get it out the mud, and you would be like, this is what I'm doing. The first one that I want to run it back with is There's a picture on your Instagram where you were pretty much like courtside next to the Eiffel Tower at this basketball game. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
That's K54, one of the biggest street ball tournament in
Okay.
Paris, which is probably the biggest basketball event in Paris that we have all year. It's a Jordan tournament, so we have Jordan athletes putting up every summer. This one is really unique. It's in front of the Eiffel Tower for sure. It always change location in Paris every year, but we got every basketball athlete that worked with Jordan at some point that came out. It's like a family environment. Like
Nice.
everyone from the basketball scene is here. The best experience for
Yeah.
sure. It's definitely great.
Yes. And now you also shot for France's National Basketball League All-Star Game. And now that you have gotten the chance to cover the NBA All-Star Game here a couple years, how do you say those two differ?
French All-Star game was great, honestly. France and Europe, overseas basketball is definitely different for that. Meeting players
Okay.
and then meet them again here is just crazy, yeah.
So then another thing I want to bring up is on Instagram you had the chance to film and photograph on 8 different basketball courts in Paris for NBA Europe to promote the NBA Paris game. Talk to me about how you think photography can be used as a vessel to help elevate that goal of expanding sports, expanding basketball.
It was pretty much more to show the basketball scene that happens every day in France, which is all the guys that I photographed, that I met on those courts. They're all my guys. They're playing basketball every day in Paris. On the summer, they play every day outside,
Okay.
which is something we don't see, right? Everything you probably heard here about France and basketball is the French players that plays in the NBA
Yes.
and then the NBA Paris game, but there's so much that happened on the side of all that, which is like street basketball, and then I think the courts are just reflects how his like Paris. You see like crazy courts, like small courts, like where there's a lot of colors. You will see like courts that just look like courts in New York.
Okay.
So it's courts under the metro. Like there's so many different courts that you can just like show the world how basketball is in other countries.
Yeah.
So that I think that was my role at some point when I was like pitching something to the NBA. I was like, what's going on in Paris and on the basketball scene on the street ball level. So honestly, did everything from A to Z. So
Nice.
it was definitely great for that too.
We love it. So, on the topic of expansion, as you mentioned, there are French players, of course, in the NBA. How do you feel about Victor Wembanyama?
I mean, yeah. I'm gonna say it's all time now. Having me on NBA courts, having him number one prospect, having more French basketball guys that just went to college here. It's pretty much a reflect of what the NBA wanted a couple years ago, which is expansion.
Yeah.
I think it was the main thing, like reach a new audience and have fans from all over the world. But I think at some point, you're also creating some guys like Wembanyama. I did not communicate on this yet, so you'll probably be the exclusivity. But the NBA reached out to me in October to just find someone to film in France. And basically, they asked me to do everything from A to Z again, like finding someone, film the games.
You're talking about Victor?
Yeah, I'm talking about Victor Wembanyama. So it was pretty much getting someone to the games, home and away games, film, getting the content in real time, getting pictures, getting archive content, because of course they want to get content and save it for later. So I was like, all right, let me take on a challenge for sure. Let me find someone. Did all the Wemby games this year. Went back to France 2 times to go to Wemby games. So saw him for like 5 or 6 games this year. And yeah, I mean, I think he just surpassed like 1 billion views on NBA platforms. So everything that you saw on NBA social media, NBA app, everything Wemby, it was just our guys to just film everything.
Okay, so you were a part of that, everything,
yeah,
as you mentioned.
I was doing the social media part, which is posting, which is getting the content from my guy. My guy is Jordan, is filming all the games, doing the crazy work. Shout out to Kevin also and Nico that did some games out there. They were crazy good, which is like filming him and getting the content ready for NBA platforms in minutes, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, he just like surpassed, I think, it was a 1 billion view on NBA platforms, which is more than some guys like Jokic.
Yeah, that's
like
crazy.
it's just crazy, right? For undrafted players. So So yeah, we did great work on that all year, all season. Yeah,
So anything you see of Wemby, just know that Pierre is affiliated with that. That's dope. And then last part of this Run It Back segment, I want to highlight another Instagram post that you made where the caption was, 2022 will always be a special year. When I was a kid, I always dreamed about being this close to the NBA. All the work I put in for many years back in Europe paid off in 2022. 50 NBA games covered, including the playoffs, finals, summer league, open runs. Still feels unreal to this day to actually be there. So I want to know, now that we've covered a lot of the events that you did for NBA Europe, making that transition to the NBA here, what was that first year like for you, and how did you even make that transition from NBA Europe to now here you are covering NBA games?
I think the transition was great. Again, I was ready for that. I think the main key was not only going to NBA games, but also meet a lot of people, working with players, working with different people. To be honest, yeah, that was definitely great, and that was my main thing, was just like keep showing up pretty much. So I went to like 50, 60 games this year and keep building relationships with those guys. So. It was definitely a great season.
Oh, I want to know though, while you're at these games, whether that be the playoffs or a regular season game, there's, I don't know exactly how many photographers, it could be from, or maybe you can tell me, like around the sidelines and just at arenas. I feel like at least 30 photographers have to be there, right? And you're all capturing the same moment at sometimes. How do you differentiate yourself and make sure that it may be the same angle, the same moment, but how do you make sure that your picture stands out against everyone else's?
That's a great question. So I guess when you're on the baseline, it's pretty much live the moment and do, like, you got to think it's probably like 6 or 7 other guys that just have the same chance as you. If you're not on the court, then it's up to you. Figure it out with the access that you have, get the best angles. But I think being in an arena is like, you have fans, you have people that work there, many different point of view that you can have. I'll go to NBA games like 4 hours before the game.
Oh wow!
I'll leave 2 hours after the game.
Nice.
So it's still like a 9-hour stretch, which is players arrives. Like, it's a lot of things happening. So it's definitely like your angle to just make your work different. I think. Getting people used to what you're doing pretty much, and then if you do videos, it's a lot of things. Honestly, it's just on you to be curious and be like, I think open-minded and just open your eyes. I think there's a lot of great things at NBA games, and a lot of great people too. You got to talk to those people and get some nice shots of them. Even the people that work there. I think at the Warriors, for example, like the security guys are just having NBA rings on their fingers. Nice. Like, the franchise is making sure those guys are just well treated, and I think some of those shots could be great. Like, there's a lot of things happening in NBA games.
It's all about perspective. I feel like so many things going on, and as you just touched upon, I feel like most would probably never even think about to go get a picture of the security guards with the rings on their fingers. So that's really dope. How would you distinguish a good picture, and what separates maybe a great sports photograph from, a night one, a decent one? And I know it's all subjective, but to you personally, what do you think makes a great photograph?
Having a great vision of what you want to document, pretty much, because we can all do the same thing and have the same angle, which is great, but you're not differing too much from the other guy next to you. So the thing you love to photograph, I think it's hard to find what you want to photograph, and it takes some time though. Don't stress. Like, content creators, just start, don't stress, but you will find your own vision at some point and then stick to that vision.
Yeah, all about finding your own lane, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I did ask that question just because there are different elements that maybe a YouTube video will suggest, or if you take a course about, like a beginner's course on photography, I'm sure many people will have basic elements of what a good picture is. So I just compiled the top 5 that I had seen from a bunch of different websites. One, composition, in no order, right? So 1, composition, light, timing, story, and image processing. Out of every element that I listed, or we can do like a start, bench, cut, because this is like sports. So out of every one listed there, and you can add in some of your own, which one are you going to start So essentially, like, you need. The second one, which one are you benching? Maybe like it's in the back burner, and then which one are you cutting that you can live without?
That's tough. I think I would start probably with light,
Okay.
because light is definitely what you need to make a great picture,
Mm.
I want to say.
Okay.
If it's a dark environment, it's still going to be tough if you don't
Right.
have light. So you definitely need light at some point. I think composition would be like on a bench for sure.
Okay. And composition is for the viewers, if you can explain a little bit.
You finding your angle and like how do you view the picture,
Okay.
and I think how you like take it pretty much. So I want to say you go composition to me is a lot of things. Like you go to
Okay.
NBA games, if you don't know anything about NBA, then it's gonna be hard for you to compose and like know the best angle. So I think composition is a thing, but
Yeah.
still like you can go to NBA games and again if you have your own vision, still have a great picture.
True. Okay.
So I would definitely bench that one because I don't think
Okay.
it's a
It's
start.
not mandatory.
You
Yeah.
can
Okay.
still go to NBA games and get great pictures. I think light is definitely one thing, so that's why I
Yes.
started that one. And then cut, that's tough. I'll probably cut image processing
Okay.
because I think it's not needed if you want a great picture. Like a great picture can be, I mean, yeah, there's guys that just do great pictures without processing
Yes.
their image. So
Yeah. Now, one that there was story added in there. And
Mhm.
for me, maybe I'm biased because, I am a journalist, but I feel like, especially because there's, of course, photojournalism, I feel like photos really are storytelling in itself.
Mhm.
Do you keep that in mind as a photographer, or because you didn't add that into your little top 3 that we did right there. So do you take into account how photos really tell such a big story, even though it is a still photo?
Yeah, it's definitely the story is could definitely be in on the court if you want to get back to the
Yeah.
star bench cut, but I think the story shouldn't like come into the process of judging a
Yeah.
picture. I want to say
Right. I had found something on a website that had stated a sports photographer job is to capture and tell the story of athletic events. They capture the game's raw emotion and help fans connect with it. They must be able to convey the event's essence, which they say is the athlete's successes and failures, to viewers at home and abroad. I thought that was perfect because you are from abroad, and you obviously have such a deep connection with sports and any of the storylines that may come from it. But what do you think is your job as a photographer is it to capture the event's essence, the sport's essence?
of course every picture got a story pretty much,
Mm-hmm.
but I need one that is like strong, and that means a lot, and I think it relates to a people a lot.
How do you think something so still as a photo can tell not only just one story, but so many different stories?
I mean, it's all about vision, to be honest.
Okay.
It's on you to find the story on the picture pretty much, because it's not always going to be someone telling you the story about it. It's definitely difficult, especially now where Instagram is just it's a matter of like who's posting like the most quickly, like who's
Mm-hmm.
getting the pictures like out fast and all
Yeah.
that stuff. So yeah, I mean it's different. I think 80% now of content creators that post pictures are on Instagram.
Yes.
I think back in like the last games that I did, I was getting better at just thinking that those pictures could be great for like in 30, 40 years for archive, and
Archives, yeah.
saving that I think is the most important thing, because if you keep those stories alive in like 20, 30 years,
Mm-hmm.
it could be great for inspiration. So you definitely got to find different ways to get your pictures, get the story about it, and find a way to tell the story.
You bring up the subject of social media. I feel like there is this conflict of social media purposes and that instantaneous factor, in contrast with historical archival purposes and that longevity factor. Talk a little bit more about how you balance that and maybe change your perspective going into taking pictures at games.
It's hard. Honestly, it's
Mm.
hard. It's hard to see for the long term, as we I'll want to post those pictures
Exactly.
when we have it. But I think I was doing way better on, all right, what can I do today that's gonna help me tomorrow on
Yeah.
creating something else,
Right.
which was probably switching to video. Honestly, I
Okay.
picked up a camera 2 years ago, but only started video like probably like 6 months ago.
Nice.
So just getting better. I think it's the key is also to learn new things every
Yeah.
day. It's hard to process and also accept that everything you do, you can take time to edit those
Yeah.
pictures. You
Yeah.
can take time. You can save them on the drive, and just it's all right. Like I have
Yeah.
pictures of Wemby that I haven't posted, but I'm like in 20 years it's gonna be great pictures. Even in a year it's gonna be
Yes.
great pictures.
Exactly.
I think there's way more than just an Instagram post, to be honest. I
Mm.
think one of my guys that just opened my mind about it is Shima Moneke. He's playing in Europe now. He was playing for the Kings
Mm.
early in the season, but when I asked him about doing like a documentary and doing content for him, and I started to mention, when do you want to post that, or how do you want to go on YouTube, how do you want to go on Instagram?
Mm.
He said, no, I don't want to post on social media. I just want to save it on my drives, and then in 25, 30 years, I'll watch that content and show that to my kids pretty much.
True.
And yeah, it's just going to be fun to have that in 20 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's actually a great vision
Yeah,
today
that's
to
fire.
have.
So I feel like that is such a conflict, especially because just for me in the journalistic realm, it kind of is. There are some parallels as far as, we're taught accuracy over being the first one. So in relation to sports, it's like if there's a rumor that such and such players may sign or may get traded to another team, it's like, do you want to be the first one to tweet that out, even though nothing's in concrete? Or are you going to wait until everything's solidified, even though it may be a couple hours later, to find those sources, get those quotes, and develop a full story that can have a much longer shelf life than, just a tweet that everyone's going to scroll past and it might not even be accurate in the first place. So I feel like that is, especially as young as we are in this generation of social media, there is that conflict of wanting to be like the first one or just to have something to post right there in that second. And so now I want to get into another segment that I like to call What's Really Good, kind of going off of photographs and diving deep into the moment, peeling those layers. I had asked you beforehand to pick your top 3 favorite photos personally for you, and we're just gonna dive into them. Tell us a little bit about why they're your favorite and give any backstory behind them. We'll start with the first one. I know was Killian Hayes.
So yeah, that picture was for the NBA Paris game during the French national anthem, which is, I mean, Killian is French, so, and him like closing his eyes, pretty much soak it all in before the game. It was definitely a great moment, and especially for me too, like going back to Paris, working for that game for the NBA. Honestly, they gave me all access for that game. I was the only one on the NBA Europe staff to have all access to the court. So yeah, it was definitely a great moment. I think for him for sure, and I think for me too. And yeah, I think that picture is great. Again, with the shadows, it's only him. Like nothing blocks the way. It's just only him. Like soak it all in before the game. It's definitely one of my favorite picture that has been also on NBA Europe platforms.
Okay. On to, there's the second photo.
It's Shima. It's crazy. I met him a year ago, so it actually feels like years, but I met him a year ago because I'm also working with FIBA. So FIBA has like a basketball Champions League, which is like the equivalent of EuroLeague pretty much. They're under FIBA, so I was working with them last year. So we flew to Spain, Bilbao for the Final Four last year. And then he was in the Final Four, and then I kind of knew he was going to be MVP of the Basketball Champions League. Next thing you know, he plays in the final, he loses, get the MVP of the tournament, and then cries. Like, we have crazy moments together, me talking to him. That's what I was saying, is it feels like years because we've been to like so much together at some point. And then we talk on the phone. You get out the next day, and we say like, yeah, I'm gonna be in LA this summer with Jordan. Let's meet. He's best friend with Dante Exum. Dante Exum has like a house here in LA, so they all together in the summer. So we definitely met, and then started to film him. Started to make a documentary on him. We pretty much behind him all summer last year. having great moments. Him in the car putting French music. I'm like, bro, how do you know French music? You never grew up in France. You're putting like old French music. And then we started to like get moments and all that stuff, get more pictures, all that, and then I think it's one day I get a call, I get a text, and then I see it signed with the Kings on the first, I think 2 years, one guaranteed and the second year wasn't guaranteed.
Okay.
And I'm like, this is great. We're making a document on you, and you're gonna
Yes.
sign for the Kings, so it's definitely great. So he signs for the Kings. Of course, Jordan, me and him, super happy to know that I'm gonna be in LA. I kind of know
Yeah.
I was gonna be in LA. Sacramento is not that far. And then the season is ongoing, and I'm telling him, I'm gonna come in October, like get some of your games
Yeah.
on my camera. And then this picture was taken in when I went to a game. It was Kings against the Suns, and it was a huddle. And then
Yeah.
trying to get a picture of Shima on the bench. Just him being him, like on the
Yeah.
huddle, like just looking up, looking at me because he saw me and just smiling. Is just, just a reflect of the great relationship that we have. And definitely a great picture that actually he framed in his apartment in Monaco.
Oh, wow.
So definitely make the picture even greater. Like the fact that he
Exactly.
framed it in his bedroom is just,
That's the
it's
cherry
just
on
fire,
top. Yeah. And like you said, it just captures his emotion so greatly. And it also touches upon the importance of relationships, building those relationships organically. And so the third one that you picked of your favorite photos.
So it's David Huston. Is it's the first athlete that actually trusted me on my company. And then that's his mom sitting courtside,
Nice.
and him playing. So it's probably his last year in Dijon. So he played like 10 years out there. We met like 4 or 5 years ago. And my dad is working for the club, so whenever a player wants his family to come, my dad would like book the flights and all that stuff for the players. And David was, I want my mom courtside. Like I want my
As she
mom on
should.
this. Yeah, exactly. In France, there's like this like crown chair like where the Kings would sit pretty much. And David, it's like for a special fan pretty much at every game. And he was like, I want my mom to be on that chair. Like so it was his mom and his sister like courtside. And then it was him on the background playing. So I think it's probably one of the only picture that he has with his mom watching him playing. And on that picture, there's Wemby also.
Yes,
Wemby is
I
in the
noticed
background too. I think it's definitely a picture that he can like use in 10, 15 years that would never lose its value pretty much. And the fact that Wemby is on it is just, it's just
Insane.
crazy. Like you got to think about in 25 years. I hope Wemby is going to be a great player. I hope the outcome would be the same as LeBron, Kobe, and all that stuff. And then him having that picture in 25 years would be like,
iconic.
This is my mom, this is me, and this is Wemby. Like, this is a crazy picture, right?
Yes, iconic. Speaks a lot, again, to the relationships and you knowing those players and just the familial bonds of everything. I feel like having those photos and memories just captured in time is really a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you how you feel about creating, because photography is an art, and you as an artist, you have to create your own vision, your own vibe and aesthetic to your work. How do you go about making sure your aesthetic is something you fully curate on your own?
I want people to see my pictures and tell like, oh, this is Pierre. Like,
yes.
Or everything that I do is just, if I make clothes, if I make I don't know. Whenever I do something, I just want people to say, "Oh, that's Pierre work." Like we can tell it's him.
Yeah.
That's his vision. Like,
Stamps.
It's just like I want,
and I
because
feel like
it's always gonna relate to me pretty much. So anytime I see someone that inspires me, like it's definitely great to see him do him. Like do something he does and do something he loves to do. Pretty much like everything I post, everything I do is something I do with passion, something I love. So like you bring your own aesthetics. Like there's not like a aesthetic to do and a style to do, and it's your own thing.
But have you ever gotten caught up in saying or thinking like, I kind of want to be like so and so, or I like their style? Do you ever get caught up in that?
You always, especially today, but I think we doing it the wrong way pretty much. We doing it because we see it on social media and we see the numbers pretty much, and we think it's great. So we want to copy that, which is not the right way to get inspiration. The right way to me is always just talking with other people to get inspiration. I think it's the right way to do it.
As you mentioned, social media, we measure a lot of our success with likes and retweets and shares. And I feel like, that's definitely not a positive mindset to have, but it's something that we have to really kind of strive to work against, like actively, especially as more outlets come out with TikTok and other different platforms. So I wanted to bring up your one video that went viral, so to speak, which touched to the point of we were talking about before with analytics and numbers and likes and shares. And SportsCenter had reposted that video of yours, an iconic moment of, LeBron and pregame ritual with the chalk. Talk to me about how you captured that moment and the response and that it got, it being reposted and all the likes and attention that it did get.
Everyone have the chalk toss already. Everyone has the picture. We all saw the videos. Everyone did it, but not me. So I'm going to do it and do it my own way, which is filming him 120 frames per second, which is like super slow, and get a music I like. And I think a music plays a huge part in. It's fun about the Lakers game because the chalk toss is so iconic, and every game we have different access. So for me, it was like, let me get the chalk toss from everywhere I can. So I get the chalk toss from up there in the press level. I have the chalk toss in fans row near him. I have the chalk toss in the court side. And then at some point, I didn't have the chalk toss on a video. So I was like, let me get it on a video, post it on my account. And then, it went pretty much viral because SportsCenter texted me on. To me, it was just a matter of doing it for me. Like, I wanted to have it, so I did it.
Yeah, so you more so do it for yourself and those that you're, creating relationships with, more so of getting that stamp of approval from others.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, and I think that's different, especially for people in our generation, feeling to have that need of acceptance from others. But I did, because you are a few years into photography now professionally, I want to get into a new segment I call Be For Real, which is basically getting the real, the low on, because I feel like as an average person that isn't in this space, we may have our preconceptions about any industry. And so now that I have a photographer in the flesh, I'm just going to pick your brain about some of the stereotypes or notions that many like to craft around photographers. And I'm going to use two quotes in particular. The first one being, the most important thing you learn as a sports photographer is anticipation. Not where the action is taking place, but where it is going to take place. Not where the subject is now, but where they are going to be. So let's be for real. Are you really at a game, courtside or wherever it may be? Are you really on edge the whole time? Are you thinking 5 steps ahead? Like, oh, he's about to do a step back. He's about to drive to the paint and I need to capture that and have my finger on the trigger the whole time? Or talk to me about if you think anticipation is really the greatest thing that you could hold as a photographer.
I think knowledge first.
Okay.
If you don't know about NBA, it's still sports, so it's hard to get the right anticipation. Could be not. It's just it's hard to anticipate. I think knowledge and passion about the game and what you know about the game also gonna bring you to have a great picture, a great story about it. When I'm going to NBA games, personally, I'm not chasing that moment. If I have it, that's good. If I don't have it, that's all right. Like, someone is going to have it. So, of course, the first games, I was like, let me get everything. Let me get every pregame routines. Let me get everything that happens. Let me get it. And I would end up having like 1,000 pictures after the games.
Yes.
Of course, I'm big on, I want to get that moment and get the moment. But if I don't have it,
it's no big deal.
That's fine. That's fine. And I'm more big on getting other moments that no one is going to have. So
photography, a lot of people like to say photography is a feeling. And so the second part of this segment, let's be for real. Is photography, are you taking a shot and do you know that picture is going to be great right off just the feeling of things? Or how do you know it's the one?
I think it's just having a social media background. I kind of know if you want to do like, this is going to do great, it's mostly you thinking about social media. So yeah. I definitely think like all my pictures are the ones, to be
Yes.
honest.
And
But
that's how
yeah.
you should feel, you know? You got to be
Yeah.
confident in your work.
Mm-hmm.
But we talked about adding music, which is an element that I love. And I know with the rise of social media, it's more than just a still photo. There's GIFs, there's videos, there's, again, that added element of music. How do you think music elevates a photo?
I think it's more so like a moment, pretty much. But still, it's your own like thing. When I put
Yeah,
music, I just want to do something like no one does. So I'll put a
exactly. Yeah.
music that I've never seen on a video. I like old songs, like
Yeah.
old stuff that no one expect, pretty much.
Right.
I'll just post it and people will be like, "Oh, that's fire! That's fire with
Yes.
that music." Like I would be the guy to just make a song trendy, pretty much, and not use the trendy song that's already
Exactly.
trendy.
Yeah.
I want to make the song like trendy, pretty much. So especially when you put the thing like slow mo,
Yeah, I was going
definitely
to touch on
gonna.
that because I love how you do that. Before the game, the players arrive, they're in their pregame fits, and
Yeah,
you'll capture that moment, do your slow mo effects, and
yeah,
then add that song
yeah,
to the video. And I think, as you mentioned, adding music really creates a legitimate moment
yeah.
and can evoke feelings, whether the song is, happy, upbeat, sad, nostalgic. And so I can honestly, like on a personal level, feel like with Instagram, I'll post something on my story. It could be anything of me, a scenic view, right? And I'll want to add a song to it. And I
Yeah.
swear it could take me like 5 minutes just to find the right song to curate that specific vibe.
Yeah.
Do you also go through that challenge?
I go through that challenge when I work for not the NBA, because we have, of course, like policy about using music and
Okay.
all that stuff. But when I work for Basketball Champions League, for example, honestly, I always say like my coworkers, I would be like, all right, we need to get paid to find songs on Reels because it's been taking so much time.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm just spending like 5-10 minutes to just get the right song,
Right.
the right beat drop, to just use at
Mm-hmm.
the right time, to just make the difference. Always going to be the details is going to make the difference. Sometimes on the numbers too. So yeah, it's just going to be
Yeah,
easy if it's for me. I'm not too stressed
exactly.
out. But if it's for a client that I work with, it could take a lot of time.
On the topic of social media, how do you feel about, we're in this age of digitalization and rise of more and more technology, social media, AI, which is impacting and has the future to impact a lot of different industries. How do you feel about artificial intelligence?
I'm just thinking about the time processing, which is probably what AI is bringing to this world. But I just don't think someone would be like up to like go 3 hours before the game, going to do all that stuff, going to do the light stuff, like doing to
Mm-hmm.
do all that. I don't think it's replaceable. And again,
Yeah,
it's still a vision, a human vision,
right.
so it's always gonna win.
I think that's a great point, that human element, which
Yeah.
is why you can't be replaced by robots in a lot of different
Mhm.
industries, because we talked about before in this conversation that emotional aspect
Yeah.
and connection with players and just the storylines behind it. So that is going to be a tough part, the tough aspects to replace. As far as social media itself in general that we're talking about here now, art in itself, photography, it's subject to a lot of critique. And
Mhm.
then another layer is social media where you have random people that will comment and share their 2 cents, whether that be positive or negative. Do you ever doubt your own vision and feel the heat from any of negative comments that you may receive?
Yeah, I was like
Mm.
back in the days. Not gonna lie, it's hard to receive. I would be the guy that's just like there's like 29 positive comments and then one negative. I'll be focusing on a negative one.
Mm.
But been working on social media for 7 years now. I just don't pay attention to it. It's just my
Yeah.
vision. You don't like my vision, then it's up to you. It's not up to
Yeah.
me. My vision is my vision. It's gonna stay my vision. I'm not gonna change my vision for someone else.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm definitely not paying attention to it now. It's hard though. It's hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get the point of like you new to this world and you get one negative comment, it can brings you down.
Mm.
I definitely give you that, but
Yeah.
yeah, be you is always gonna work for
Yeah.
sure.
But I do want to highlight an older Instagram caption that you said, "Faced my fears, always knew that I would make it here." What fears were those?
That's a good question. I remember what time it was.
Mm.
But at some point, it was just the fear of not going to the systemic way. Pretty much going out of that system is I was afraid of it because I don't know. I just don't know what's out of that way. I just kind of imagine what it could be, but it's still imagination. I don't know if I'm gonna make it there. Back to that confidence that you're trying to build, and that in the system they're trying to put it down pretty much. And at that point, it was just facing my fears. It was just facing the fact of getting out of that system, going to something that everyone around me was like afraid of. That caption was in Basketball Champions League when we were in Spain, and then I met all those players, and I kind of knew I was gonna make it at some point. So, but it was still a challenge to go to all those like fears and unknown and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Going back to the beginning of the conversation, you know, immigration, you're taking a big leap, going against the grain, and there is fear in the unknown and also just stepping outside of your comfort zone. But as we wrap up on this conversation, I know it's just a beautiful thing and the photography industry and what you do. I was watching a different interview of a sports photographer, and he was saying how, you know, moments get lost if you guys as photographers don't capture them, and you seriously give the gift of reliving certain moments for people, and that's a beautiful thing. Do you feel like you carry that responsibility as a photographer, or is there something, a personal mission of yours that drives you to continue to forge your own path in this field?
I have a lot of like things that I want to do. As far as like getting a camera, is just document something that needs to just like tell a story that can help like people in many different ways. You can do anything with a camera, so
even on a basic level, you know, not for everyday people, you know, taking their camera, iPhone, whatever it may be. I recently came across an Instagram post that was like, document your life for real. Like when it's all said and done, these are the only things that are going to draw us back to certain memories and certain people in time. So for that reason, I think photography in general and what you do is an amazing thing. And to close us off, I know that you have TMC, the marathon continues, in your bio, which is the mantra of the late, great Nipsey Hussle, speaks towards that hustle mentality. How do you think that mantra has played a role in your journey?
A lot, to be honest. I think Kobe and Nip was like two of the biggest inspiration that I have, because showing the fact that it's not a race and it's like time to make something happen. Pretty much, I was in the middle of the race to go to the U.S. pretty much, and that wasn't a race. That was just a marathon, and it took 5-6 years for me to get there, which means that was a marathon. And I think Kobe said it well, but you got to enjoy the journey, not the destination. I mean, both, of course, but the journey is also something you got to appreciate and be blessed about, because it's basically your way to get to the ending point. So, yeah, Nip is definitely someone I was listening to when I was like doing bad or I just didn't know what I'm going to do.
I think it's amazing in itself that you speak of both Kobe and Nipsey, because it speaks to their, you know, range just internationally and how much impact they had. So I want to wrap up on some speed round questions, though. First one, are you taking a new lens or new camera body?
Probably lenses. Yeah, because a camera body is, when you have it, you have it. Like a lens is going to bring a different angle. It's going to bring a different like close up. It's going to bring a different, like if I go up there and I got a deep lens, I can like still get great angles. It's going to bring much variety to get more angles rather than just having another camera body.
Okay. Solid. Second one, best arena that you've shot in?
I went to a Sixers and Nets game when Ben Simmons was back in Philly. It was insane.
Really?
Like, KD was trash talking with Embiid. Kyrie was talking to the fans on that bike. When it's like on that bike behind the bench, he was talking trash to all the people that were just going out, because I think it was a blowout. It was like 30 or 35-point game. But the atmosphere was crazy. So I think that one. Sixers fans are just different.
Third one, Are you taking, because there's film cameras are back, the little digital cameras are back. If you had to choose one, digital, film, DSLR, or just your iPhone, which one are you picking?
Definitely not iPhone. I just think iPhone is just so you take the picture, you want to like instantly see how it looks.
Right.
I don't like that. The film camera is great because you can have it, take your pictures, and then you don't see your pictures
Exactly.
before like 2-3 weeks.
Right.
You miss a lot of I think moments on the film. Yeah, I think DSLR.
DSLR.
Yeah.
All right. That's a safe choice.
Mm-hmm.
Second one, anyone in history that you would love to take a picture of, whether that be an athlete, celebrity.
That was for sure could be a nip. If it was one that I could still make it, it would probably be Jay-Z, I want to say. Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Big Jay-Z fan.
Yeah, big Jay-Z fan. Yeah, just Hove. Like,
okay. Do you have a top 3 Jay-Z songs?
Yeah. Probably Harder, CD in One. Yeah, I would say albums pretty much. Blueprint, Black Album, and Blueprint 2 probably.
So then, last one, would you rather be able to look back on your life in 100 pictures or 5 videos?
That's tough. Probably pictures.
Pictures.
Yeah,
100
it's like
pictures.
100 pictures is a lot of pictures that I can take. 5
Sure.
videos it's a lot, but no, I'll take photos for sure.
And then I did want to wrap up on, you've achieved so much so far. Already achieved your goal of working in the NBA, something that you wanted to achieve as a kid. Is there anything else, anything in the near future, any ultimate goal of yours that the viewers, the fans can anticipate?
Definitely go to Africa for sure. I want to see
Okay.
the basketball scene out there. Just want to see players go out there, inspire the kids.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely want to see the basketball scene out there.
Right.
'Cause from what I heard, it's crazy. Like, they don't even have basketballs. They don't even have nets. They don't even have... It's crazy. Like, I want to see the basketball scene out there. So definitely do something in Africa at some point. And then I think, reach new fields. Like we talk about music, but definitely music, soccer. Definitely, I want to do something with soccer. Mm-hmm. I grew up around soccer. Then do other sports, disciplines. There's so much things you can do.
The sky's the limit.
Yeah, exactly. So
well, it's exciting. I mean, you're still in your young career.
Yeah.
You're just getting started. So I'm excited to see what's in store for you. And thank you. That wraps up this episode of the podcast. Thank you, Pierre, for joining us. And
for sure,
as always, you guys can follow us, keep up the support, subscribe, share, like, comment, all that good stuff. I really appreciate all the love and support thus far. That is it for this episode. And you can sign off by leaving any of your socials or any way that you would like to be contacted.
Yeah, just follow me on Instagram and text me on Instagram. It's HAESSIK.
Perfect. You heard it here first, folks. Well, thank you so much once again, and I'll see you guys next time.